This is my 1993 single turbo Nissan. Link in the description down below. Join Throttle VIP where you're gonna get exclusive discounts and many other great things, as well as 5 times entries on our sweepstakes cars. So get creative, guys, get your entries in today. I wanna transform your car. We're gonna take an in-depth look at the chassis and everything that we've put on it, but before we get into that, we're gonna pop the hood and take a look at our fully built Platinum Racing Products RB26 engine. We know that you guys at home are really smart and realize that these 1990s legends come with RB26 DETs. Now, as you guys can see here, this is not your run-of-the-mill twin turbo setup. This is a single turbo setup with a fully prepped race engine built by Quinn Clark here in the Throttle Shops. Now, let's get into the details of what we have here, Mr. Quinn.
Yep, so you guys might actually recognize this engine because we built this on the Throttle channel about a year ago. So we have an RB25 Neo block, which has been modified and converted to BA 2.6. It is not an RB25 anymore because it's filled with RB26 guts. So we have a factory RB26 crank with a spline drive on it. We have Italian rods and pistons. We've got a piston and a connecting rod from them. We also got a Platinum Racing Products block brace that only stiffens the block and allows us to run a 4-wheel drive oil pan. We have a billet oil pump, all factory water pump system on here. We have a super sick Greddy head package. This cylinder head is one of the first to come out of Greddy's race division, and it has so much flow to it. It is such a good cylinder head package. We've got a high lift cam, we've got a hydration cam. It sounds absolutely insane. We have a full timing belt component kit and a fluid damper to go along with it. On the front of the engine, we have a Platinum Racing Products cam and crank trigger kit. So this gives us a lot clearer view of what the engine is doing from a management side and allows us to tune it more precisely. We have HKS belts with Greddy pulleys all around the engine. We have Platinum Racing Products for their ignition coil kit. These things are absolutely insane. About 5,000 horsepower is what they're rated for. We have a remade in the USA intake system, so super clean throttle bodies. The collector's also nice and fresh. This does not look like 30-year-old Skyline bits that's all rusted like you would typically see. We have a Greddy intake manifold and a fuel rail kit. We're running 2000cc Dishworks injectors, and we have a Greddy intake manifold as well, which really shines everything up and gives the space such a nice look to it. And one of my favorite parts about this setup is the hot side. We've got a turbo kit from Spectrum Motorsports that would allow you to single turbo your car over the weekend in your garage. Pretty crazy. Totally turnkey. You can get an R-Tech manifold, Garrett turbo, turbo smart wastegate, all the plumbing, the downpipe, everything comes as a kit and makes it super simple to turbocharge your car. Pulls right onto the car. All the lines are already set up. The downpipes, there's no fab work. You literally take it off and slam it on. It even came with the hot side intake pipe, which is really nice.
Now also we've got Chase Bay's reservoir in here, and this is for our power steering setup.
We've also got a Greddy radiator, electric fan setup, and Mishimoto silicone hoses all throughout the car. The cooling system on this car is pretty factory styled, so we even still have a heater on, which is really nice. For oiling, we have a billet Platinum Racing Products oil pump. We have head restrictors in the block, and we have a huge increased sump pan by Stuart Leask, which is a really nice piece. It has a lot of capacity. We also have a Platinum Racing Products head drain, and of course, you can't forget the massive catch can on an RB setup. We've got it plumbed with dime PSI lines, and it's a return to sump can to keep all the oil where it should be, which is inside the engine and in the oil pan. And any race car in Southern California needs air conditioning, so I reached out to Frenchie's Performance Garage and got his full new air conditioning setup for this car. It uses a more modern compressor. It moves the dryer to actually right next to the condenser, and all comes as basically a turnkey kit and allows you to put air conditioning on a modern spec back into your 30-year-old car. Now, we built this car in about 17 days from bare engine block stock car, just got back from paint with a factory engine in it, to pretty much what you see here on the dyno running, and there was a lot of key components to help us get there really quickly. The Spectrum Motorsports setup was one, and the other one was wiring specialties. They got us a harness really quickly. That was literally everything we needed for this. It was set up for the injectors we were running. It was set up for the boost controller system. Everything we needed just literally plugged right in. It was amazing. Yeah, so this all turned out super rad.
rad, and we're gonna let you guys hear it later on in this video, but we need to move on to the chassis and some of the other things that are going on with this car, because there's a lot of really cool things and maybe some stuff that you might not notice if we didn't do this video. So let's take a closer look at some of the other stuff.
One of my favorite parts about the exterior of this car is not only is it super clean, way cleaner than it should be for being about 30 years old, actually older than 30 years old,
yes,
but it still looks like a factory GTR.
This car was not in the greatest shape when I got it. I sent it out for a quick respray over at Torrey Pines Collision. It came back with the factory 326 white, which is my favorite, but we did add a set of Ganador aero mirrors. We added the N1 vents into the front bumper because we needed to get air to this massive 4-inch core Greddy intercooler core. Stock lip painted from black. These are typically black on these cars, but I like the white lip because we do have the N1 side skirts on this. It kind of keeps the car flowing really nicely.
It looks fantastic. It looks like a factory GTR.
Yeah,
There's just like some small little subtle touches that make it look really nice.
One of the things that I've noticed as I've become sort of ingrained in the GTR community is that a lot of the cars have begun to look the same because there's not a lot of options for body kits and stuff like that out there. The N1 package for these cars is probably the nicest and cleanest looking, and that's because it was made by the factory for the N1 race cars. What I did was I just touched it up a little bit. I added some canards to the front. Funny enough, these are actually for an EK Civic. These little finishers down here to go with the carbon canards on the front, we added these carbon pieces that give the car a beefier aesthetic, kind of lengthens the height of the car. These look a little strange sometimes with just the N1 skirt because it dips down in the front of the rear wheel. I wanted to fill that in and get the car looking nice and level and give it a really nice low aesthetic. These accomplish that and keep the little bit of carbon theme going. As you guys know, I love carbon fiber. I did add these throwback Nissan Motorsports International decals that I found through one of the Facebook chat groups. I thought that was a nice touch and really keep it looking OEM. When the car was in for paint, we replaced all the glass. To get all these new moldings, you have to actually replace the glass as well. So we replaced the tops of the doors, the rear glass, all the new moldings, and basically just cleaned up everything to the best of our ability. The car has a really good aesthetic now. It's really clean on the outside. And around back here, those wings I mentioned, this is a factory GTR wing. I've just replaced all the moldings and things that go with it to keep the car sealed up. Most people that know Skylines know that they have rust problems. So you want to make sure that all your seals and moldings are in good shape so that you don't create rust that you don't already have. This is the Nismo rear ducktail wing, I guess they call it. But I think it's a good addition to the GTR's OEM spoiler. It's not a must, but to complete that Group A look, it needed it. So I added that. Also have the stock GTR badge. These things for the 32s are quite special because as you notice, there's actually paint color or paint code on the badge itself. Now after the 32s, they stopped doing that. The badges are actually see-through and it makes it a universal badge across all of the GTRs, whatever color they are. This car, you had to get a color spec badge to match your color of paint. Kind of silly. The Heritage program has now released these in all chrome and you have your body shop actually paint the color on. A little bit of a better solution, but those are quite pricey to find the right color one in a new condition. These badges can go for like $400 online, which is crazy to me that a badge costs that much. We also added the factory Nissan badge over here. I love OEM badging. I think it's really cool.
And one of my personal favorite aspects about the aesthetics of this car is actually the stance and the wheel and tire package we have on the car. You want to go into detail a little bit about that?
Yeah, so this is one of the things that was an absolute must for me. And it's not even done yet. That's the thing. I just got some parts yesterday that are going to go on this to make this package even more insane. To me, 17s are the way to go on an R32 GTR. I'm not saying 18s aren't appropriate. I'm just saying I think 17s are the best look. Now, you get into a situation where do I find a 17-inch wheel that can hold a massive brake package underneath it so that I can take this thing to the track and not have braking issues? I worked with Stuart Leask and got his Willwood upgrade brake package that he created and makes. He makes brackets that allow you to basically dig into the Willwood catalog and get a full race setup on this car. I challenge you to find a brake setup that is more adequate than this for an R32 GTR because I don't think there is one on the market. This is Willwood's full floating two-piece rotor paired with their racing caliper. 6 pistons in the front, 4 pistons in the back. This is their top of the line caliper and rotor package as well as full race pads. These things squeak like nobody's business, but it's a race car and that's okay.
I genuinely do not think you can get a bigger caliper under a 17-inch wheel than that. It is absolutely insane how close it is.
It is, and so our wheels are actually Volk Racing TE37Vs. These are authentic and they are in 17 by 10.5 plus 20 fitment. We do have to run a 10 mil spacer, so that effectively makes them a plus 10 to clear the wheel barrel to the actual caliper itself. And now our race wheels that we run on this car are Advans, and they are also a 17. They're a 17 by 9.5 with a 275 Hoosier tire. And those wheels actually are so close to the caliper that I actually have problems with rocks and debris on the track getting stuck between the wheel and the caliper. We've literally filled every millimeter of wheel with brake on this car. And as with any track car, you have to have a good set of tires as well. We're gonna be running the RT660 Azenis from Falcon Tires. These are a fantastic tire, and we literally put them on every car that comes out of this shop because they're that good. In this format here, we've got a 275/40/17 and our race tires as well are 275/40/17s. However, those are Hoosier stickies. And inside here, what you can't see because the brakes are so freaking big, are all the suspension arms. So we've got the full complement of GK Tech arms to be able to adjust camber, caster, and all those sorts of things to make sure that this thing tracks straight. We have full adjustment.
We're also on Shockworks coilovers. We have stainless steel brake lines and a whole slew of other suspension stuff going on inside of there.
Yeah, you name it, pretty much it's been replaced, and this thing handles as good as it looks. What I love about it is it pulls off that Group A look. Big meaty tire, small wheel, big brake, lots of camber. To me, it's the best. One of my other favorites on this car is the titanium exhaust system. This is from Leask Spec. Stuart out in Texas actually builds these in his home garage, well, his home shop, which is pretty fancy. But this is full titanium from the downpipe back, and it weighs literally nothing. My favorite part about it is the fit and finish, the quality of welds, and the overall aesthetic that it brings to the car, and it makes this race engine sound so good. We did put a heat shield on the back here because this thing tends to spit flames out the tailpipe, and want to protect the paint a little bit, but not necessary, but a cool piece to add to the car. Around back, we also have LED taillights and reverse lights and turn signals in here, but that kind of rounds it out. We really wanted to kind of keep this simple and really just clean up what's already here and make the car attractive. It's really going to be a shame to keep putting this thing on track as nice as it's turned out, but we're gonna do it. Interiors are so important, and for me, as you guys know, like my R33, I wanted to keep a nice street car aesthetic and feel, even though we've gone kind of off the deep end with the racing parts. One of the first things you might notice is I've got a mismatched pair of chairs in here. I've got a Recaro seat that I recently just test fitted in the car, and I wanted to get the mount set up. I just haven't swapped it back yet. This is the chair we're gonna be running for racing purposes. This is basically a side mount, non-adjustable Recaro race seat in cloth. We have a full set of matching leather Recaro Sportster CS with heated features for the car. However, right now I've got this one out in lieu of the racing chair because I want to make sure it fits and it's comfortable and I get the seating position right. So one thing I really like about it is it works with the factory seatbelt system. Now, before we get this thing to the track, we actually have a roll cage inbound that will be going in this car, and we're also going to be deleting the rear seats. And that's why, if you'll notice, the cloth in the rear is a little bit faded because it is 30+ years old, but that's all going to be coming out. So I haven't focused my attention on repairing any of that stuff. It's going to find its way to the shelf to be reupholstered and maybe used at a later date. Around the interior, we basically just focused on cleaning it up. We've got basically our stock center console. One of my favorite things that came with this car was the Mines boost gauge. Now, these gauges are no longer working because we've got a Haltech engine management system in here, and we're running the IC7 dash, as you can see. So the factory gauge cluster has been removed, and some of the sensors for that system are no longer in use. So oil pressure and boost are no longer being used. So I'll probably remove those at some point, but it's such a neat piece that I've left it in here.
I think we need to mention the elephant in the room, which is this strange looking shifter we got
This
here,
guy,
brother.
I was thinking you were gonna say this massive Pioneer head unit. I wanted this because I want to be able to drive the car around and have a map and use CarPlay and all that stuff I did in all my cars. This head unit is really rad, but yeah, this is definitely the elephant in the room. That's the gear selector. Now, this probably doesn't look like your normal shifter, or it looks like one of those crazy H-pattern shifters that you can add to your car nowadays.
One like Ricky likes to have, the really super short notchy IRP style.
Super, yeah, high boy. But no, this is actually a sequential gearbox. So this is from Fitzner Performance Gear, or PPG. This is their 6-speed, fully billet case transmission, sequentially shifted, and it can also be paddle shifted as well, and it can be flat shifted. This thing is rad, and it totally transformed this car into a hectic machine. The little button on the front, which you're probably wondering what that is, this is actually line lock. So essentially you hold down the foot brake, push that button, it locks the front brakes, allows you to do rear wheel drive burnouts. Now, paired with the ETS Pro system that we have here, this can allow this car to go from 2-wheel drive to 4-wheel drive or all-wheel drive whenever we feel like it, and we can adjust the modulation here on the dash to how we want the power distributed. What's really cool is you flick that switch, hit this, and you can do rear wheel drive burnouts at the drag strip or for fun. It really makes this thing a complete weapon. It can be a drag racing car, it can be a circuit car, all with a touch of a few buttons, which is really cool.
My favorite part is the first time we actually had this car out at the drag strip, it ran 10.6, which is pretty good.
Yeah,
for
so
a first time at the strip ever, pretty good.
First pass was a 10.6. I think this is a high 9 car at the end of the day, once we get everything dialed in.
Once we get everything dialed in and get you dialed in behind the wheel, I think it'll run 9.
I haven't even drag raced this car yet, so soon enough, hopefully we'll get out to Verona or one of the other dragways locally and get a chance to race it some more at the drag strip. To round out the interior, we added some Imperial mats as we did in our GTST build. These are really cool and kind of funky 90s pattern. I love them. We added the R34 GTR pedals to this car as well, just to kind of upgrade the pedal set, because these come with just like a rubber pedal that says GTR on it. It's kind of silly looking. These look way better. And then just cleaned up the door cards and the dash, added a Greddy steering wheel and hub. And yeah, I mean, it's pretty simple, honestly. There's not a whole lot of craziness going on here other than this guy right here and the head unit.
Yeah, I love it. It's not like unmanageable. It still looks like a street car.
Let me
still
hop
looks
in
like
here.
A street interior. You know,
Show
it's
you
not
the
like some
seating.
crazy wires hanging out, full cage, like climbing over stuff to get in that kind of car. Like it's still a simple, clean, really usable car.
It's not as hectic as you might think. We can take this thing to track, Quinn can drive it, I can drive it, whatever. Really happy with the way it's turned out. Another thing that goes along with the PPG gearbox is the little box up here on the dash. It shows you essentially what gear you're in, so you never forget, because once you're just rowing up and down, sometimes you can actually forget what gear you're in. That's just a little reminder there. And then we also have the IC7 dash from Haltech, which all of our sensors under the hood are contained in that one unit, and that's also giving us mileage, miles per hour, and everything that we're monitoring under the hood, which is essentially everything. Really complete package, and I'm really happy with the way this has turned out. To round out the drivetrain package, we actually have Quaife differentials in the front and the rear of this car. Ironically, we pulled the diff out to put the Quaife diff in, and we actually had a Nismo diff from Japan that came in the car, so kind of neat. Now we have a spare Nismo diff laying around, but Quaifes in the front and rear, which have been super good and awesome in our first testings. And let's check out the trunk, because there's some stuff in there as well.
This car also has drive shaft shop axles and a drive shaft shop carbon fiber drive shaft, which is awesome. Such a nice piece.
Honestly, the bottom of this car is about as good as the top, because you got the full billet PPG gearbox.
I think it's almost better.
Carbon,
it's arguably better.
Carbon fiber drive shaft, full buff 930 setup, axles on all 4 corners.
Just insane. The oil pan is beautiful. Everything is so
titanium
clean.
exhaust.
We've got the Greddy diff cover. It looks so nice.
It looks so nice in comparison to this, which is very simple. And it was kept simple on purpose. So we essentially have our red top battery. We've got our plug-in so that if we park this thing for any duration of time, we can plug it into a tender. We've got our master kill switch right here. Super easy, off and on. Breaker, so that if we have any issues, the breaker will just trip there. We can reset it. And under the carpet, we've got our Frenchie's Performance Garage fuel system. This is a drop-in hanger that has our Deechworks pumps on it. And it also is translating all the fuel lines over to AN for us, which is really nice.
Fuel system is -10 to a Y, which then it splits to 2/8 feet each sides of the rail. Then it's a -8 back of the tank, essentially.
So really nice setup. And what I really like about this is that it just bolts right in. It's awesome. It's like take out your old stuff, drop in the new one after you wire up your pump. And hidden underneath the taillight panel here, we actually have Frenchie's fuel relay system as well. So he's got a 1, 2, and a 3 fuel pump relay setup. We did utilize that, but we did hide it away in here because we really don't need to see it. It also has a breaker on it too. So if you have any issues with your fueling system, it'll pop that breaker. You'll lose fuel pressure on the dash and you'll know that your breaker popped. So once you find your problem, you can come back here, reset the breaker, and you're off and running. No fuses to replace.
Before we get too much further, I actually want you guys to hear how this engine sounds, because the head package, everything about this entire engine setup sounds so good.
Let's fire it up, dude. Let's let them hear it. Ready?
Yep.
So rowdy. It sounds like a Bridgeport rotary engine. I love it.
Oh, it sounds so good.
So with that wheel and tire package on this car, and you smell the E85 and you hear that noise coming out of it, this thing means business.
When we have the car up on one of these lifts, it actually sits there and it'll actually rock on the lift. Rock
I
the
can
whole
sit
left
here and
arms.
listen to this all day long.
It sounds so good.
I'm gonna turn the lights on too.
Oh yeah.
The full effect.
That's how an RB26 should sound.
Yes. Yes, this is how they're meant to sound. I want to say a huge thank you to Andrew Hawkins over at Motive Video and Rob Arbolino, who also helped extensively to get this car to where it is today. I'm very happy with the way it's turned out. I also owe a huge debt of gratitude to Quinn Clark for helping me get the engine set up, built right, and actually fine-tuning this car to where it is today. It has been a year almost since we built this, and we're still tweaking on it. It is an absolute weapon now, and there's more to come. That's it for my R32 build. I hope you guys enjoyed this. If you want to see us break down more of the cars that we have around the shop here, or even some of our personal cars, leave us some comments in the section below. We will read those and decide maybe if any of those are worth taking a closer look into. Thank you to everyone who participated with this car. It has have a long life ahead of it, as we're going to be taking it out to some Nissan Challenge races in 2024, and I look forward to getting some valuable seat time behind the steering wheel. It's been a fun ride, and I look forward to continuing it. Thank you guys so much for tuning in today. I hope you love the passion that went into this build.
Let us know down in the comments below if you guys enjoy these style of build breakdowns. There are a ton of cars in here, in our personal collections, and just cars in general. We could bring in a lot of different really cool cars to do a review on.
You guys want to see Bucky Elastic's cars? You guys want to see Mad Mike's cars?
Oh yeah.
What cars do you guys want to see? We might have those connections, so we'd love to share them with you guys as well.
Thank you guys so much for watching. As always, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and we'll see you guys in the next episode. Peace.